Okay, welcome everybody. We are on Samach Beis, on the second line. The subject we spoke about is if a goy could have Nazirus. That was the Mishnah. Kusim doesn't say Kusim, it says Goyim. Goyim Elam Nazirus. And the Gemara brought a pasuk that it says by Nazir, that it says Bnei Yisrael. It also says Ish. Bnei Yisrael might exclude a goy. The word Ish, the Gemara thought should include a goy. And we find such a case where it has some exclusion, some inclusion by Erchin. Over there it said that there's on one hand that says Bnei Yisrael, on the other hand it says Ish. So we say over there, the goy cannot be Ma'arich, but he could be Ne'erach. That he can't be the one who makes the vow, but he could be the one who the vow is made about. So here also, the Gemara was saying, it says Ish over here also, do something with it, do something with the word Ish. So we had interesting, we didn't get, the Gemara is not usual, put it that way, that the Gemara did say a pshat why it can't be that a goy is going to be included in the Nazirus, because the pasuk's mashma goes together with Tumah, and the goy doesn't have Tumah's mace. The Gemara went on a tangent to find out how you know that a goy doesn't have Tumah's mace, but that seems to be a given, that the goy for sure doesn't have Tumah's mace, and therefore, since the pasuk goes together, so only somebody that has tumah, guy doesn't have tumah, so he's not in the parsha. And what do you do with the word ish? We held to put it on hold. We don't know. Then the Gemara seemed to forget about all that. And then the Gemara did try a couple of tries that maybe the guy does have Nazirus, and only some aspect he doesn't have Nazirus. Maybe he doesn't make a korban. Maybe he doesn't have Nazirus olam. Maybe he can't make his son into a Nazir. Maybe he can't use his father's kabbanas for a Nazir. All those choices were how to reconcile it. Then the Gemara rejected all of them, and there was no possibility. So the Gemara seems to fall back to the Gemara before, that the guy does not have Nazirus. Good? Samach Beis Amud Aleph. So we take the second line, we take out the word Zihachi. It has Zihachi, you take out the word Zihachi. And new Gemara. And the Gemara is going to talk about the two psukim. We're talking about, our subject is really Nazir, but here the Gemara is going to talk about Erchin and Adorim. So it seems to be a science subject. Came in by the way. The subject of Erchin and Adorim. I do have the psukim over here. Let me take it down a second to be able to put on. What is this over here? We'll do this, and then also this. So we get both of them on. Okay. So now, how does that go? Something's wrong. No, it's not. Oh, here it is. Here it is. Okay, I hope this is showing on the screen on there. Whoever's out there also. There's well, you're talking about the first two psukim over here. The one about Nedarim and the one about Erchin. These are the two psukim the Gemara is going to juggle over here. So really, it's not what we call Nedarim, that they make a neder in Parshas Matos. That's not what it's talking about over there. It's talking about a korban, somebody that vowed to bring a korban. Pasuk in Parshas Zemor, it's talking about the parsha of Mumim over there, that you're not allowed to bring an animal that has a mum, a blemish. So it says, Daber Lavon Rabbanov Kol Bnei Yisrael, Lomar Ta'alehem, Ishish Mibeis Yisrael, Umen Ager Yisrael, Asher Akriv, Korbanot, L'chol Nidrihem, L'chol Nidvosam, Asher Akriv L'Hashem, La'olah. So it continues, don't bring a balmum. Speak to Aaron and his children and told Bnei Yisrael and tell them, any man, any man from Beis Yisrael or from a ger. It sounds pretty clear that's not talking about the goyim. It says any man from Bnei Yisrael or from anybody who's a ger in Beis Yisrael that's going to bring a korban for a neder and a dava. So the word neder here doesn't mean the regular neder we're talking about, Parshas Matos, someone makes a neder. But this is the Gemara is going to call it nedarim. So he brings the korban ola. So the pasuk continues. The next pasuk will say, so don't bring a balmum. But just to point out that it says the word ish from Beis Yisrael. And the Gemara is going to talk in the parsha of Erchin, which is in Parshas B'chul Kosai. The first one is in Emor, second one is B'chul Kosai, and also says the word ish. Which is yesterday, still we spoke about that. It says on one hand it says Bnei Yisrael, which seems to exclude goyim. On the other hand, it said ish, which includes goyim. That's what the Gemara said, that the yes erchin, no erchin, that it can be marach, but it could be nerach. That was our Gemara yesterday, and the Gemara just used that as a springboard to talk about how come the word ish that it says by Nazir, which is the bottom pasuk over here, how come you also don't say that it's coming to be Marba Goy? That was yesterday's sugya. It says by Nazir, it says B'nai Yisrael, V'amata Alayhem Yisho Isha, Yafli Neden, Lindo Neden, Nazir LaHashem, talk about the parsha of Nazir. So the Gemara asks the kasha, how come you say B'nai Yisrael means that it excludes Goyim, and that's the whole name of our parak. Goyim don't have Nazirus. That was more kasha yesterday, say Ish, that it does. But as far as now, the Gemara is going to just talk about these two psukim, the first two, the one about Korbanos over there, Nedorim, and the one about Erchin. And here the Gemara starts. We jump back to the Gemara. Why is it not jumping back? I don't know.
doesn't say Ish Yehudi Haya B'Shushan Abirah, Yehudi V'lo Goy.
If it says Yehudi, it says Yehudi. Here it doesn't say Yehudi. Here it says Ish. Why is my screen not showing me? I'm not sure what happened over here. Okay, try to take that off again. Back to the Gemara. I'm not sure what happens. Okay, nice control. Wrong one again. Sorry. My driving is not good today. Okay. The Gemara starts. Ishki Yafli Neder. Ishki Yafli Neder Berkechom Be'erchen Lamali. That's the most question. It has a pasuk that it says by Erchen. Ish Yafli Neder Be'erkecha. And the question is, why do you need the pasuk for? Why do you need this pasuk that says by Erchen? Mechdi, Iskish Erchen and Nedorim. There's a comparison. The pasuk itself compares the parsha of Erchen to the parsha of Nedorim, which means the parsha of Korbanos over there. Parshas B'chukosai to Parsha Samon. Dom Makro. Here's another pasuk. Ishki Yafli Neder Be'erkecha. Or that here the Gemara wants the word Neder Be'erkecha. That it says the word Neder Be'erkecha, that already shows that it's comparable. The word Neder, the word Erkecha. So whatever you find by Nedorim, we're going to also apply to Erchen. But
that's our pasuk.
That's right. The pasuk we just said that you don't need the whole pasuk. Of course, you need the pasuk Neder Be'erkecha, but you don't need the words Ki Yafli, Ish Ki Yafli. The Gemara is going to be let's focus on that. The Gemara is going to be focusing more on the Ish Ki Yafli. That you don't need this. You don't need these with Ish Ki Yafli because you have Neder Be'erkecha already. The Gemara is not even going to talk about the Ki Yafli.
Well, why did it ask about the Erchin?
What do you mean? This
Why
pasuk
did the
is
Gemara ask the Erchin?
this pasuk, which says by Erchin, this pasuk, Ish Ki
Why do we
Yafli
need
Neder
the whole
Be'erkecha.
pasuk?
No, not the whole pasuk, because you do need the Be'erkecha. But you're not going to need the Ish. You're not going to need the Ish Ki Yafli, which is going to be the Ish. The Gemara's real problem is going to be Ish. Maybe I should make it even better. Only on the Ish. The Ish is going to be the problem, I think. But let's leave it as it is.
So why didn't it say Ish?
That's what it means. The pasuk that it says Ish by this parsha, why does it say it? You don't need it. Ish. That it says Ish Ki Yafli Neder Be'erkecha, you don't need the word Ish. Why? Because the fact that it says Neder Be'erkecha, that already compares the parsha of Erchen to the parsha of Neder. And we're going to find the parsha of Neder that it says already the word Ish. So we'll make a comparison and say that applies to Erchen also. And even if it wouldn't say this pasuk Ish, you'd be able to learn it out. Ish Ki Yafli Neder Be'erkecha, right? That's where it shows you the comparison of Neder and Erkecha. But Tanya Gabi Nedorim, that pasuk we just mentioned, we didn't mention it yet, but by Nedorim, Ish Matamud Loma, Ish. Why does it have to say the word Ish? The Rabbos Esag Goyim Shein Nodrim Nedorim and Nedavos Ki Yisrael. This is the word Ish. It doesn't say the whole pasuk over here, but if we went back to the screen, if we may for a second. Ish Ish mi basis Yisrael Managebi Yisrael Asher Akrib Kobano the Holy Name of the Holy Name. So it says the word Ish. That's what the Gemara is talking about. You don't need this word Ish that it says by Erchin because it has the word Ish by Nedorim. And the fact that it says Neder Be'erkecha, that already compares one to the other. So whatever it says by Nedorim applies to Erchin also. You don't need the word Ish. Whatever we'd be able to learn by Nedorim, we could apply also to Erchin. Just to remember, yesterday we said that the word Ish, seemed to be Marbe Goyim. That was the most kasha yesterday, that B'nai Yisrael excludes Goyim. I'm sorry, I was talking about, I'm sorry, I went to Nazir. This is by Erchin, we say B'nai Yisrael is coming to exclude Goyim. Ish is coming to include Goyim. We said that it means that they're not Marek, but they are Nerach. You have to have both sukkum over there, B'nai Yisrael and the word Ish. Not Gemara is asking, you don't need the word Ish, because whatever it says by Nedorim applies to Erchin. And since it says the word Ish by Nedorim, it applies to Erchin also. But Tanya Gabi Nedorim says the word Ish. So therefore, And the Brisa says, why does it say the word ish for? To tell you that goyim are also in the parsha of Nodrim and Nadov and Nadovski Yisrael. Just like a Jew could make a neder to bring a korban, which is the pasuk talking about over there. So too a goy also can make a neder to bring a korban. And if you have the comparison of Nadom to Erchin, ish ki yafli be'erchin lamali. That's the end of the kasha. Till here was the kasha. Good kasha. We use the word ish by Erchin to say that a goy is included in the parsha of Erchin, not as far as making the Erchin, but as far as being ne'erach. And the question is, you don't need that pasuk because we have already a pasuk by the Dorim that says the word ish, which is going to be marbe a goy, like it says that a goy is allowed to make a korban. He's allowed to be a neder and a dava for a korban because it says the word ish. Not only Jews, even goyim. And there's a hekish between the two parshios of Nedarim and Erchin. And we should say whatever it says by Nedarim applies to Erchin also. So the pasuk that it says ish by Erchin seems to be extra. That's the most kasha. Till here's the kasha. So we're holding now by the pasuk that it says ish by Erchin. What do you need it for? Ella, hi ish mi boile lasuye mufla samach leish. The pasuk that it says ish by Erchin is coming to tell you a halacha mufla samach leish. The pasuk said, I'm sorry to have to jump. Really, I would try to do that. I shouldn't have to. I should be able to jump around both of them at the same time, but it wasn't working. I'll try it again one more time.
What is mufla?
Mufla means somebody that usually the word mufla kiyafli means that he expresses himself, but the Gemara uses it to mean that he has wisdom, he has intellect, intelligence, and therefore mufla samachlish means that he's a smart kid, even though he's not yet a gadol. He's mufla samachlish. Ish means that he's a gadol. He's already 13 years old. Physical maturity. He has intellectual maturity without having physical maturity.
I thought we're talking about going now, comparing going. What now we're talking about maturity?
So we'll be talking about it soon, but here the Gemara seems to talk about a Jew and says that you need a pasuk to tell you that ish, a mufla, even though he's not yet an ish, he also has the ability to make a neder. And even though the pasuk's talk on Erchin, let's see in a second, let's get the pasuk on again. Try one more time. Why is this? This is in the way over here. Put that list. Okay. So we have here this pasuk ish ki yafli neder. Ish ki yafli. Let's look at ish ki yafli. So ish means that he's an adult. Yafli means that he knows what he's talking about. He's expressing himself. Knows what he's talking about. What if has intelligence, but he's not yet an ish? He's not yet a full adult. Here it talks about that a person can make a erchin, he could obligate himself, he can make a promise, he can make a vow. And we're also going to learn out in the Nedarim also that someone who's not yet a gadol, he's not yet 13 years old, but he has seichel. So this pasuk is used to tell you that neder takes effect, even though he's not yet a gadol. Usually a katan doesn't have das, but this katan happens to have das. And even though as far as other mitzvahs go, even by Shabbos or any mitzvah, and the kid's a smart kid, and he has enough seichel that an adult would have. Do you say that he's chayv in mitzvahs? No, he's a katan until he's 13 to sorrows, he has to have physical maturity. So here the bus is coming to say an exception that as far as the Dorim, if he has seichel, even though he's not yet an adult, also the neder takes effect. Good? The kasha was that it says ish by the Dorim, and there's a hekish between the two parshas, you don't need this ish. The answer is telling you no halacha. It's telling you a mufla samach ish. Also, his neder takes effect. Just to point out that everybody always talks about mufla samach ish as far as the Dorim, and the truth is it doesn't say by the Dorim mufla samach ish. It's very fascinating that everyone always quotes that by a katan who has das, so maybe his neder is chal. And that's based on this pasuk. The pasuk doesn't even say by the Dorim, it says it by Erchin, and the Gemara is saying that since it says neder be'erkachos, whatever applies to one applies to the other, whatever applies to the Dorim applies to Erchin, whatever applies to Erchin applies to the Dorim, and this drush of mufla samach ish really says by Erchin. Just we're going to make this connection to say that it applies to the Dorim also. So there was a kasha in the Torah so far. The kasha was that since the two psukim are two parshios are compared to each other, and it says ish to be mar b'goy by the Dorim, you don't need the ish by Erchin to be mar b'goyim. And they were saying you're right. And even though yesterday the whole day we were saying that again and again that ish is coming to be mar b'goyim, it was really a mistake. It was lav davka. You don't need this ish that it says Erchin is not the pasuk that you use to be mar b'goyim. The ish of the Dorim is coming to be mar b'goyim, both by Nedarim and by Erchin, and the ish that it says by Erchin is coming to tell you the din of Muflas Amalcha Ish, both by Erchin and by Nedarim, that even though he's not yet a full adult, since he's smart, he has intelligence, also his neder takes effect, his Erchin takes effect. That's the Gemara's tenets. Is everybody happy with that so far? Okay, the Gemara back again to jump. Why am I losing my thing the whole time? Why am I not able to? Am I doing something wrong over here? Yeah, still no good. What am I looking for? Okay, I'm sorry that my controls are not good again. Why is it keeping disappearing? Okay, back to Maseches Nedarim. So the ish that it says by Erchin is to tell you that even if he's not an adult, he could make a neder when he has seichel. But the Gemara says that halach is not so simple. Hanicha lemandam samach ish daraisa elamadam adrabanan ish kiyafli lamali. That's not so simple that the halach is true. Is it true that someone who is smart, a kid who's smart, even though he's not yet a gadol, his vow takes effect? Some hold that it's true. Everyone says that halacha is, but is it the Raisa or the Rabbanan? You're dashing a pasuk over here. If you hold that as the Raisa, that the Muflas Samach Ish is never takes effect, so you have a nice brusha, Ish. But if you hold that it's only Rabbanan, so then you don't need the pasuk still. So
sorry, the word muflo here would mean that it's derisa. What
no,
makes it derisa?
that's a real brusha. This concept of Muflas Samach Ish, if you look in the Mishnah, it's going to say that a kid is 13 and he makes a neder, so then it's a neder. But if he's less than 13, it depends if he has seichel or not. You ask him, do you know what you're talking about? Who are you making a neder to? Do you know about Hashem? So you ask him a couple of questions, and if he has seichel, it's a neder. If he doesn't have seichel, it's not a neder. And that's samach lish. Only it was a year before Gadlus. From the 12th birthday, we'll ask him questions to see if he knows what he's talking about. That halacha is called nufla samach lish. So is that a daraisa concept or is it a drabanan concept? If it's a drabanan concept, it doesn't help us for the psukim. The psukim are not going to be utilized because the whole concept is drabanan. We can call it nufla samach lish, but the whole concept is drabanan. So somehow that it is the Raisa. If you're nufla samach lish is the Raisa
And
concept,
I'm asking how the ones that say it's derisa
they learn it from this pasuk. Ish
from the
ki
pasuk.
yafli. Ish ki yafli. Yafli is the wisdom, and the ish is the adult. So even though if he's a mufla, as long as he's a mufla, he knows what he's talking about, even though he's not a ish.
It's talking about a cut. And it's derisa.
Right, he's samach lish, right?
Okay, and now we're going to question.
Now we're saying that not everybody holds that. Not everybody holds that mufla samach lish is the Raisa. Some hold that it's only Rabbanan. If it's
And then it's
Rabbanan,
not a drush.
then right, it's not a real drush. So the pasuk is still extra. If you hold that mufla samach lish is Rabbanan, then you don't need the pasuk still. So the Gemara tries another teretz. You're right that mufla samach lish is only Rabbanan, but lasuye mufla samach lish the goy. Fascinating.
That would be
That would be the
derisa.
Raisa. Even though the mufla samach lish of the Jew,
Okay.
it does not exist, but mufla samach lish of a goy, it does exist. How do you juggle that? How does that make sense? That
A goy who has seichel,
a 12-year-old goy did I say, oh,
he has to be 12 years old.
let's say maybe not,
I
but
thought he means he has to be close to a Jew.
why is it supposed to be Jew? He has to
Well,
be someone who
samach-
is. No, ish means godless. Godless means that ish is an adult, mature adult. That's called an ish. Or that's called the yelad. So he's ish. So we just finished saying now we're going according to the mandama that says the mufla samach lish by a Jew is not the Raisa. If a 12-year-old Jew, boy, smart Jewish boy, is going to make a neder, we'll say no, it doesn't take effect.
Because he's
But
not bar mitzvah.
It's not bar mitzvah. But
Not
the
bar
12, not bar, but a 12-year-old guy that knows what he's talking
No
about.
issue of bar mitzvah.
What?
No issue of bar mitzvah.
No issue of bar mitzvah. So Avnissan is answering the question that the Levi Yaakov was asking. How can it be that the guy is going to have more halachas than the Jew? The 12-year-old Jew is not going to, his net is not going to be a neder, and the 12-year-old guy is going to be. So Avnissan answers because there's no bar mitzvah. The guy doesn't have a bar mitzvah.
Which is a change in a Jew, and the goy doesn't have that change.
Right. What does it mean change? That of course he also gets physically mature, but it doesn't have any halachic ramifications. Which maybe I'm not going to show if this with the pshat, but there's a Chassam Sofer that says that the whole concept. When is a goy chayiv in mitzvahs? So
When
to
is a
speak.
goy?
When is a goy chayiv in the 7 mitzvahs? By a Jew, there's a concept of being a gadol. Less than a gadol, he's a katan. So there's a Chassam Sofer that says, I don't know if it's going in our Gemara, but he says that there's no the whole thing is halachal Moshe Sinai. Means you might say by a Jew also. If he has das, he has das. If he doesn't, he doesn't. So it's halachal Moshe Sinai that he has to be physical maturity. That halacha Moshe Messina is not said by a goy. So the whole responsibility of a goy comes with his seichel. And if he has seichel, he's chayiv in the mitzvahs, even if he's not physically mature. Maybe that's what the Gemara means over here. I'm just saying it as a suggestion. I'm not sure. I think the Chassam Sofer says all up in myself.
General guys, this is what said.
What's bothering you?
We're
We're not talking about Jewish mitzvahs. We're talking about Goyish mitzvahs.
the 7 mitzvahs.
When is the goy chayiv in the mitzvahs? What age? So it doesn't have to do with age. Maybe that's just to do with his seichel. So maybe the Mufla Samach Leish here is not talking about Dafkin Adorim. When you talk about some of Mufla Samach Leish if it's the right, so he's saying that it's an exception to the rule. All mitzvahs he's not chayiv until he's 13. But maybe a 12-year-old Jewish boy, maybe yes. That's interesting. That'll become an exception. Now we're saying that Mufla Samach Leish of a goy has nothing to do with Adorim. Even by any mitzvahs of the 7 mitzvahs, he's going to be chayiv if he has intelligence. I don't know if that's John the Gemara, but just a thought. Anyway. What does the Gemara say? That Mufla Samach Leish is the Rabbanan, but the pasuk is coming to say Mufla Samach Leish of a goy is going to be the Raisa, and that's what the pasuk ish is used for. Again, on the headlines today, the pasuk is that it says by Erchin that Abel b'nei Yisrael ish kiafli be'erkecha. So, what do you do with that pasuk? You don't need the pasuk. Ish kiafli neder be'erkecha that you learn out. Nedor and Erchin is already. You know it's similar, and it says ish by Nidorim of a korban. So why do you need a pasuk that it says ish by Yerkin? The answer is to learn out Mufla Samach Leish, and it's going to apply to both of them. It's going to apply l'chora to Erkin and also to Nidorim. Now the Gemara says that's not so simple. What are you telling me? That the Mufla Samach Leish of a goy, and we talk about Erkin over here. The pasuk is by Erkin, and it tells you need the pasuk of Mufla Samach Leish by Erkin of a goy. The Gemara just threw what do you call it, a curveball at us? The Gemara just threw something at us that we don't even know. We don't know what this is all about. The Gemara, we're used to yesterday. Yesterday we learned that by Erchin it says B'nai Yisrael, it says Ish, so he's out, then he's in. Yesterday we said that the goy cannot be Marich, but he could be Nerach. That if the goy makes a vow that he's going to give Erchin to somebody, so he doesn't have the power, it's nothing. But if a Jew said about a goy, I'm going to give his erech, then he is considered nerach. That was yesterday. Here the Gemara throws at us the opposite. It just told us a drush that says the opposite. It wouldn't
change what we learned yesterday. It wouldn't change the.
It would just change that. You see over there that there was a Bnei Yisrael. There was a riboy of a goy. Right, you're right.
It's the riboy and the meal.
Right, and the Gemara yesterday brought one mandam. I will bring the opposite. So what does the Gemara bring now? That everyone agrees that by Erchin it says Bnei Yisrael and it says Ish. One is a miyat, one is a riboy. One is coming to exclude a goy, one is coming to be marble goy. But there's a machlokes how to darshan it. Yesterday we darshan that the goy cannot be marich, but he is nerach. Here it brings down the mandama says the opposite. The Bnei goyim are not nerachin. Bnei Yisrael nerachin bein goyim nerachin. That if someone said I'm a goy, I'm going to give his erech, it's nothing. But yachalo yumarichin, you might think that the goy also doesn't have the ability to be ma'arich, to accept upon himself a vow of giving Erchin, Tamad Lama Ish, that it's coming to be Ma'arbar Goy. So the Gemara threw at us a new mandam we never heard of that says the opposite, that a Goy could be Ma'arich, he can't be Nerach. And the Gemara is saying, if that's true, according to that mandam, I'd be happy. According to the mandam, that a Goy could be Ma'arich, then you could tell me a Chiddush that even a Mufla Samach Leish also is Ma'arich. The Gemara is going to say in a second, the wisdom, the intelligence only makes a difference if he's the one who's making the neder. He's making the erech, he's making the neder. If he's the object that's being evaluated, it doesn't make a difference how much seichel he has. The pasuk says that even the ben chodesh, even a kid who's 1 month old, also you can give the erech. Only ben chodesh v'mala. So it has a month-year-old, and a 5-year-old, and a 20-year-old, 60-year-old. So it talks about ages and has nothing to do with seichel. Even a 1-month-old baby, you could be nerach. So the Gemara's problem is, in other words, that doesn't make sense to say a drasha of Mufla Samach Leish as far as being nerach. It only makes sense as far as being marich. So now that we just finished saying that the pasuk Mufla Samach Leish is coming to say a chiddush, that even a goy, there's Mufla Samach Leish, is included in the parsha. In which parsha? If you say that he can be marich, then it makes sense. That first you know that a goy could be marich. Then we tell you a chiddush, even if he's a mufla, also he could be marich. That would be a nice chiddush. But if you're talking about that the guy, even if he's an adult, he can't be marich, he's out of the parsha, he's only included to be ne'erach, then it doesn't make sense to say two drushes. One is that a guy is ne'erach, and one is that a guy, even if he's a katan, he's ne'erach. Of course he's ne'erach. Even if he's not, no intelligence, even if he's a month-year-old also, he could be ne'erach. So the drusha wouldn't make sense. We'll see this inside. If you hold hanichel mandamar that a guy is not ne'erach, b'nei Yisrael ne'erachin ve'en goyim ne'erachin, and you might think that he's not ma'arich, he is ma'arich. Yachalo yu ma'arich and tamadama ish shaper. Everything makes sense. That you said a drasha to say that a guy is ma'arich, and then you said a drasha even to add on that even a mafla ish is ma'arich. But if you hold like we said the whole time yesterday, elal mandamar, the opposite, that the guy is ne'erach and not ma'arich. L'mandamar b'nei Yisrael ma'arichin ve'en a goy ma'arichin. Yachalo yu ne'erachin tamadama ish. If you dash in the other way, that the guy is not ma'arich, he's only ne'erach. You need a special pasuk to say that even if he's mufla samach leish, even a month-old baby is ne'erach, and there's no reason, nothing to talk about a mufla samach leish. There's no chiddush in it, and you don't need it. He should be intelligent. Even if he's not intelligent, also he could be ne'erach. So the kasha comes back. You didn't answer the kasha yet. Why do you need a pasuk to say ish kiyafli by erchin? There's no chiddush and a mufla samach leish by ne'erach. Again, the Gemara had two tirutzim. The Gemara said two stages of it. First, the Gemara said it's coming to tell you mufla samach leish, and the Gemara said that was happy with that. Mufla samach leish of a Jew, that he could be married. But if you hold that as rabbanan and not true, then they wanted to come on to mufla samach leish of a goy, but that wouldn't make sense if the goy could only be ne'erach and he's not married, because in being ne'erach, there's no chiddush that he has to have seichel. He doesn't have to have seichel. So now the Gemara says another teretz. Amrava debarava l'suye goy gadol apagav the gadol who. There's a question in the gears over here. Imeni del haflos lo. They put in the words over here. Im. There's a rush over here. Im eni del haflos lo. So there are a couple of gears over here. I'm shutting. I didn't get everything, but the Gemara is going to say now that how about a guy who's an adult and he doesn't have seichel? You have all the possibilities. You can have a kid that has seichel. You can have an adult that doesn't have seichel. What's the din of an adult that doesn't have seichel? So by a Jew, I'll say one pshat now. This is Taisus and the Russian one of his pshatim, that we're going now that the guy is nerach, but he can't be marich. So if he's not marich, there's nothing to talk about by erchin, nothing to talk about the level of the guy. Even if he's a guy who's a gadol and he has seichel also, he can't be marich. So we're not going to talk about erchin. We're going to talk about an eno inyan to say that it applies to the other parsha, that the pasuk that it says by erchin doesn't apply to erchin, it only applies to nedarim. And by nedarim, over there we said that the guy could pledge a korban. That nedarim and nedavas, that the guy could pledge a korban. What if he doesn't have seichel? What if the guy doesn't have seichel? Means he doesn't have enough das. So you ask him questions, he doesn't know what he's saying. By a Jew, the halach is once he's 13 years old, even if he doesn't know what he's saying, also the neder takes effect. Mm-hmm. If a 13-year-old who's mature, he has physical maturity, he said, I raise a korban, so it has the din of a korban. Even if he's a 12-year-old, then you have to move for some aflish, you have to ask how smart he is. Less than 12, it doesn't make a difference if he knows what he's talking about. But by a goy, that is a chiddush that a goy could make a korban, what if he doesn't have seichel? So according to this gear, what's is coming to tell you that if he has seichel, and if he doesn't have seichel, then not. The guy who could make a neder to make a korban is only if he has seichel. If he doesn't have seichel, not. And go back to marichin, as far as erchin, we're going according to Mandama that the guy can't be marich at all. That's the end of that sugya. Just to sum it up now, put the two dots over here. What happened? The Gemara's question was, they said a question and the possible answers, and the Gemara came out with 3 possible answers. No, is that true? No. At the end, only 2. The Gemara asked the kasha that since you have an ed and erchin go together, and the pasuk it says by erchin, by nedarim, it says already the pasuk ish. You don't need the pasuk that it says ish by erchin. It's an extra pasuk. So the Gemara had 2 answers. It comes out. One is that the word ish, mufla samach leish, that they tell you the halacha, this famous halacha that mufla samach leish also is erchin, is the dorm, is the dorim. It's coming to tell you that even if he's not 12 years, he's not 13 years old, if he has seichel, also his neder takes effect. The Gemara Kash, if you hold that Muflas HaMachish is Rabbanan, so that doesn't make sense. So the Gemara, then there's not, it's not true. The pasuk is they're not coming to tell you that Muflas HaMachish is only Rabbanan. So the Gemara tried to say that Muflas HaMachish of a goy, that is going to be the Raisa, but the Gemara said that's only good if you hold that the goy is going to be Ma'arich. But if the goy is going to be Nerach, then you don't need that he should have any seichel. So the Gemara said, if so, it's coming to tell you that by Nedorim, that the goy is allowed to make a neder, has a korban, is only if he has intelligence. But an adult goy, even if he's an adult, he doesn't have intelligence, his neder is not a neder. That's why you need the pasuk ish. If that's good, we go on. Yeah, that Gemara is over. New Gemara. Now we're going to go back to the pasuk where it says by Nazir. And the Gemara is going to ask, by Nazir, this is the pasuk in the bottom, it says the word. What are we going to talk about now? I have to erase this. We're not talking about ish, we're talking about the kiyafli. The Gemara is going to talk about the word kiyafli. And the kasha is going to be that you don't need this pasuk kiyafli because you know it already from Nedorim. And if over there, which means this pasuk before that it says by Erchin, by Nedorim, that you have the word kiyafli, and you can learn it out from there. You don't need the pasuk that it says kiyafli over here by Nazir. Why am I not able to get out of it? Okay. So Ella kiyafli the pasuk Rahman legabe Nazir is lamali. Why do you need the pasuk that it says by Nazir? That it says kiyafli, why do you need that pasuk? Mechtia iskish Nazir is lenedorim, like it says neder Nazir. The pasuk says together neder together with Nazorim. Whatever it says by neder also applies to Nazir. So kiyafli lamali, whatever you learned out, whatever you drushes you had by Nazir from the pasuk that it says kiyafli, you should know already. Really, the Gemara didn't. This seems to be extra credit lagamri. Of course, when Parshas Nazir, it's Mesechus Nazir, but we didn't talk about the word kiyafli. We just spoke about the word bnei Yisrael and the word ish. Here the Gemara is throwing that it says kiyafli, and the kiyafli part you should be able to learn out that whatever applies to neder applies to Nazir also. So why do you need the pasuk that it says kiyafli by Nazir? The Gemara answers lasuye yadayim she'enan mochichos. The word. So I'm saying a pshat now. There's a lot of difficulty in these Gemaras. So just say one pshat with a couple of gears changes. Lasuye, they say first of all that the word lasuye usually means to include. Here it means to exclude. Means it's included in the parsha, and it's included in our subject, but it means to exclude it. That what? That when you make a nazirus, you have to say there's such thing as called a yad. The same way he is, so I am. That's called a yad. That you don't say explicitly what you meant. You left out some words that's supposed to be extended. That's called yadayim. We had in the beginning of Yadas Nedarim, the Yadas Nazirus, called Kinuy Nazirim, and the beginning of the Masechta spoke about Yadas also. So how about the thing called Yadayim She'en Mochichos? If it's not so clear what you were referring to, that's called Yadayim She'en Mochichos. And here's going to say that the word kiyafli means he said explicitly. The reason the fact that it says kiyafli lindo neder nazir, that has to be said explicitly. If it wasn't said explicitly, it's not going to take effect. That Yadayim She'en Mochichos is going to say that it's not good. There's a question of the gears coming up, so we'll change the gears to satisfy this pshat. Ditma Yadayim She'en Mochichos abayi amahavi. What I do over here? It's abayi amahavi yadayim, Rav amahavi yadayim. Nachlokas amaran. If it takes effect to make nazirus, if somebody or neder, if somebody said something which is not completely clear what he meant. Abayi says that it does take effect. Rava says no.
When it's not so clear.
It's not so clear. Enan mochichos. Mochiach means that it's clear what he said. And enan mochichos. So Abayi says that it's still good enough. Rava says it's not good enough. Lo havin yadayim. So now these two words we're going to change now. We're going to just, the gears of change is going to go on these words. On Abaye and Lerava. So to change around these two words. Is that true? Yeah. To change around these two words, Abaye and Rava. La Rava Nicha, Ela Labai Michael Amema, means we said that the pasuk Yafli is coming, La Suye, we said means Lemute. It's coming to exclude. So saying the Dam Shen Mechich is not good. Yafli means it has to be expressive, it has to be articulated, it has to be clear. So that means that if it's a Dam Shen Mechich, because it's not good, that means to say that Rava said Rava is good. Rava said Lo Heaven Yadayim, he's good. That the pasuk Kiyafli is coming to exclude Yadayim Shem Mechichas is not good. But according to Abaye, that says that it is good. You can't say the pshat Kiyafli is coming to exclude because he holds that it is included. That's the Gemara's question. So you don't have a pshat to tell me what Kiyafli is about. The Gemara answers, Elo Kiyafli Yibayla Lechidei Rabbi Tarfon. Rabbi Tarfon's famous drasha, which we had a couple of times in the Masechta, the Tanya of Yudom and Mishum Rabbi Tarfon, Ein Echad Mehem Nazir Lefisha Lo Nitan Nazirus Elo Lafla. This is the famous Rabbi Tarfon that says that you can't make it tonight. When you want to accept yourself Nazirus, you can't make any kind of condition or unknown. Everything has to be known as soon as you made the nether. And the example would be if somebody made a nether on a condition, so he doesn't know for sure if the condition is going to be fulfilled. So he doesn't know if he's a Nazir. Tarfon says it's not a Nazirus, even if the condition was fulfilled. Other people said it depends if the condition was fulfilled or not. But he says that even if it was fulfilled, it's
Because
still
it
not
was
a Nazir
unclear.
because it was unclear at the time that he made the nether. He didn't know if it's going to happen, and he learns it from this pasuk. He absolutely the nether Nazir only if it's explicit. If it's not explicit, it's not a Nazirus. But that's only good according to Rav Tarfon. The Rabbanan argue on Rabbi Tarfon and say that it doesn't have to be so explicit, even if it was not known at the time. If it's a good nether or not, it still takes
Excuse me.
effect.
We want to buy it to work even for, not just with Rabbi Tarfon. Why do we care that, so we have
Right.
Rabbi Tarfon, so are we happy?
No,
Why do we
because
want
Abai has to explain how the Chachamim of Rabbi Tarfon are not going to explain. We'll ask Abai, according to you, you only can explain Rabbi Tarfon, you can't explain the Rabbanan.
Oh,
You have to explain the Rabbanan also.
Okay.
Third possibility. Mishnah says, it talks about in the Chagiga which oral laws have some basis in the Torah and some don't. And we call it Halacha Moshe Sinai. Things that are oral law that have some kind of remez, it has a drash, it has a remez. So over there, the Mishnah talks about some things are very based, some things are hanging on a hair, some things have nothing to based on. And it's only oral law, you wouldn't be able to figure it out from the Torah at all, not even a remez. So it says over there that het in the Dorim, the halacha that you're allowed to be mountain nether, that a chacham, you go to a chacham, not the forest in the Dorim, that's a Perish Parsha in the Torah by Parshas Matos about a father and a husband, but a Torah in the Dorim, you go to the chacham and you say, I have charota, so that doesn't say in the pasuk, not even a remez. Het in the Dorim, parchin b'avir, the halacha that you're allowed to be mountain nether is flying in the air, means that has nothing to, ein la mamashi yismach, it has no basis in the Torah, in the written Torah. It's only a oral law. But Rabbi Eliezer says no. There's a drash for it. Rabbi Eliezer Omer yesh la mamash yismach. It has some remez. Shenemar ish kiyafli kiyafli. It says 2 times the word kiyafli. Where does it say 2 times kiyafli? That's what we said. One is the pasuk that it says one time by one time. Here's the pasuk over here on the screen. The 2 times that we had is these 2 psukim that it says kiyafli by Erechin, and it says kiyafli by Nazir. Those 2 kiyaflis, you don't need both of them. You could have learned that one from the other. The fact that it says kiyafli and here it says
Yes, sir, would
kiyafli.
be which one?
Which one?
Yes, sir.
What?
Yes, sir.
Which is it? Oh, I didn't. Stepan, you always had.
I thought you read it.
I just read Yafli Stepan. One is coming to tell you that the pshat in both of them is coming to say that he's prohibiting upon himself. Or either he's obligating himself with a nether, or he's obligating himself with a nazirus. But the fact that it says it twice, then you don't need both of them. One is coming to say remez that you're also allowed to do het in the dorim, that you're allowed to undo it. By expressing yourself, you can go to the chacham and talk until it's going to become permitted. That's a drash to tell you that there's such thing as het in the dorim. So it doesn't say kiyafli twice. One is by Erchin, and one is Erchin and the dorim go together, and one is by Nazir. And the fact that you don't need both of them, you would have been able to learn out one from the other. It's considered as if it says it 2 times, and you can learn out that one of them is going to tell you the opposite. One is going to tell you there's also a flaw to be able to undo the nether. And that's the end of that Gemara. What do we do? This Gemara was, what do you do with the pasuk of Kiyafli that it says by Nazirus? That was the Gemara's question. And the answer is a couple of answers, just to get it. This was the pasuk that it says Kiyafli by Nazirus, what he needed for. And we had a couple of answers. Well, according to Rav, the answer is simple, that it's going to be a daim shen machichas is not good enough. Abai holds that it is good. So you can say Rav Tarfon has a pshat to tell you that it has to be an explicit nether. If not, it doesn't take effect, even if the Tanai was fulfilled. And not everybody holds of that. So the other pshat will be according to Rav that it'll be a remez that there is such thing as a Torah Nedarim. We had 2 sugis today. One was the word ish that it says by Erechin, And the answer to that was either to tell you Mufta Samach La'ish is good enough, or to tell you Mufta Samach La'ish of a goy, if he's Marich, according to the Madamar, it says that a goy could be Marich. And if you don't hold it out either, then it's come to tell you that a goy who makes a neder that does take effect is only if he has seichel. But if he doesn't have seichel, then it doesn't take effect. And the other pasuk of Kiyafti that it says by Nazirus, we said these drushes either it's coming to exclude Yilayim Shein V'chichos, or that you have to have an explicit neder, not like a corner of tarfin, it wouldn't be good if it's a Tanai, or to tell you Remes for Torah's Nedarim. And we go on to the Mishnah. We're on some of the ways of
He's on the side of 7 mitzvahs today.
He's not trying to make anything, but if he makes Erchen, it takes effect. It's like making a vow. He doesn't have to make the vow. But if he makes a vow, it does take effect. So some of the the printer did a bad job. He printed the beginning of the Mishnah on the 2 pages ago, and there's no reason. He didn't say any Gemara on it yet. So the printer is the one who decided we're going to make the end of the Mishnah, put Gemara in between, go to the next Mishnah. So here it's all messed up. Because the Mishnah in the beginning, on Daf Samach Aleph Amud Aleph, over there it says that the goy cannot make Nazirus, but women and avadim can make Nazirus, and it's not telling you the difference between each one. So he should have said, he said all that together over here. Here we would have said, if you go back a second to 61a, right? 94, Shmini. Here it is. The beginning of the Samach Aleph Amud Aleph, it says, Goyim have no Nazirus, women and avadim do have Nazirus. There's a Chomer B'Nashim maybe avadim, and Amish is going to continue with saying a Chomer B'Avadim B'Nashim. There's a stringent, both of them have Nazirus, but there's a difference. Women is more stringent than avadim. Why? Because he could force his Eved to go against his Nazirus, but he cannot force his wife. And now Amish continues and says the Chomer of Avadim.
Give me the affection for that.
What?
Like in the Durham where it says it's gone. It's also affects him. He can, and then if the neder of a wife affects him badly, then you can say no, I don't want this neder.
You're talking about the mission now is going to talk about what you're talking about a farah. A farah means that he can nullify it. So that's we didn't talk about it yet. So far we just talked about by Eved. There's no such thing as nullifying midin farah's nedorm. You can't be made for his Eved's neder. But he could say that since it affects me, so you're meshuvah to me, you're obligated to me, and the neder doesn't take effect. That's what I said before, that it can be kol for his Eved, it can't be kol for his wife. But here it says, the Mishnah continues, it's not much continuation of that Mishnah. There is a chomer of avadim more than women. She'll make for nidri ishta, or make for nidri avdo. That if he wants to do a farah, he could be made for within 24 hours. Or we said that halacha maybe means not 24 hours, it means just the day that he could be made for his nidam of his wife. And we said earlier in the Masechta, how come? Because it is relevant to him, because he doesn't want Ishim and Uvelas, he doesn't want not drinking wine, it's considered La Nos Nefesh, it's considered Nedam of Vino Nefesh. So he could nullify the neder of his wife who made herself a Nazir, but he cannot nullify the Nedam of his Eved because he's not authorized to nullify his Eved's Nedarim. So there are 2 points. As far as being kofa means that it did take effect, but he could force him. Right. He can make him
drink wine, but he can't get him out of the neder.
Right.
And the wife, he can
Get her out of the neder in time, but if he
can't
didn't,
force her to drink.
right? If he didn't, then the neder was false. Then he can't force her to go against the neder. And the Mishnah explains, Heifer l'ishto, heifer l'omis, heifer la'avdo, yotzel l'cheirus, mashlim l'zivus. So they take out the veg, take out the vav of
Prefers to take it away, right?
Right. So usually it means that, and here the Mishnah uses the word heifer la'avdo, lav davka, because no such thing as being heifer la'avdo, but it means heifer l'ishto, heifer l'omis. If he nullified his wife's neder, then it's forever gone, even after he divorces her, because if he
But it's from
nullified
that time on, right?
because the neder is off. Oh, is it from that time on again? Okay, yeah, we had a Gemara about that it goes from that time on. There might have been a question about it, but that's how we paskin, that it goes only from
Then on.
not like a Torah Sodom that goes retroactively. That's a side point. But there is such a thing that once he was made for the neder, then the neder is off. And even if he subsequently divorces her, it doesn't jump back on her again because the neder was already nullified. But if he forced his Eved, which means that when you hear the word hey for lavda was lav davka, because there's no such thing as being made for lavda. But it means, like we said in the Mishnah before, that he forced his Eved because he's obligated to work for his master, so he's not going to drink wine, he's not going to do a good job. He wants him to drink and be healthy and strong. maybe he also has a job for him to do in the basic forest, so he's obligated to the master. He can't make a dharma that's going to go against the master's needs. So if he forces Eved, but Yatzal Chevros, Mashlam Nizirusa. So take out the vav, they say, according to this pshat, take out the vav, and means that if eventually he gets free, it doesn't mean he's allowed to go free. But when he goes free, he does have to continue his Nazirus. Means that the master only was able to pause it as long as you're under my jurisdiction. You're not going to keep the Nazirus. But once he goes out of his jurisdiction, if he got free, so then he is a Nazir. So that's the difference between a Eved and a wife. The wife, he has the right to be Mefer. Once he was Mefer, it's off completely, internally. If he wasn't Mefer, then it's on, and he doesn't even have a right to stop it temporarily. The Eved, he doesn't have a right to stop him from making the neder, but he can't go against the master's needs. So if the master needs something, he has to drink whatever the master wants. The master's going to say, you don't drink wine, you're not going to be healthy and strong and happy. So you have to drink wine. Once he leaves, then he does have to finish the Nazirus, because really the Nazirus was chal. Just the master, it couldn't be on the master's cheshbon.
These meaning that he's freed,
Why?
meaning he's freed as a slave.
No,
When he gets free.
when he gets free.
That's not meant. When he gets free, then he has to. Then
He has to
does
keep, his
fight.
Nazirus has to keep going.
I mean, he's a Jew then.
His neder was not nullified. A woman is also Jewish after she gets divorced, but her neder was nullified forever. But the master didn't nullify the Eved's neder. So when he gets free, so then he's in his own jurisdiction. He has to keep the Nazirus only as long as he was under the master's jurisdiction. See, his neder wasn't able to his neder took effect, but he wasn't able to play it out because it was interfering with the master's needs.
Is there gonna be enough to move into this? What do you care? I guess maybe the Gemara will come up. Why, if one is Homer in one thing and one's Homer in another thing, so what?
No, to tell you these actual halachas. These halachas are irrelevant to know.
Just to
That-
know the difference.
To know, to know that here he could be Mayfair, and here he can't be Mayfair, and here he could force, and here he can't force. Sometimes you can, when you want to make out the
Sometimes
Homer,
there's a nafkamina.
that's enough. That's enough community. That's what we're saying. That there's a difference. This halacha is enough community.
Okay,
Sometimes we'll use this as a kal v'chomer, which one is considered the chomer. That's something else. But here, the Mishnah is not interested in telling you the kal v'chomer. Just wants to tell you, you should know that some halachas apply here, don't apply here. Some apply here, they don't apply here. To know this halacha that you can't be made for the neder of the Eved, you can't force the wife.
okay, okay, they're just using it in terms of Homer.
Yeah, you could say,
Sometimes I think Homer means like it's gonna be more important, or it's gonna have more weight, or it's gonna take precedence for something.
that's when you talk about a kal v'chomer. When you talk about
That's
contrasting,
only
one is
for
the
kal
chomer.
v'chomer.
I think so.
Okay.
Here also, it does tell you not community right now. If he gets free, the wife is forever free. And there's a difference between being kofa and being maker. The nafmin is right there, that he only could do it within 24 hours. After that, he can't do it, but everybody could do it always. But he wasn't made for it. He didn't take away the Eved's neder. So therefore, if he gets out of his jurisdiction, he does have to keep in the zeros.
Okay.
Tana Rabbanan.
No, it wasn't just a kal v'chomer. Like if they're both drowning, who would you say? Well, he has a Homer because of blah blah blah. She has a Homer.
That's
Doesn't
going to be
make any difference.
right. That's going to be only a chomer in the person's essence, not in if he's chayiv in this, and if he's chayiv in if he has the right to be made for his Eved's neder, it doesn't make a difference in saving him or not. That's only talk about the essence of a person, like a Kohen, chayiv in more mitzvah, something like that. That'll be a reason why he'll have preference over there.
Okay.
Tana Rabbanan. This word is not lama but lema.
Lama.
Lema Rabba Kofo. In which aspects is the Rav allowed to force his Eved? The Nazirus. Avalol and Adorim, they changed the word here, or the Shvuas. This word, Erchen, they changed to Shvuas. Not a Erchen. But when may the master force his Eved? If he became a Nazir. If he became a Nazir, the master could force him to drink wine, let's say. But Avalol and Adorim or the Shvuas, if the Eved made a Neder or Shvuah, the master cannot force him to transgress his neder or shvuah. And the Gemara asks, that's the Brisa. The Gemara asks, what's the difference? And we darshan b'misha nafsho knuyelo, yotz evet shein nafsho knuyelo. How do you know that? Here's telling us the source. How do you know that the master can force his evet to transgress his nazirus? We didn't talk about it. We used this rush a couple of pages ago. Over there was a chiddush that the nazirus is chal. But here we're talking about the aspect that he's allowed to force him to transgress his nazirus. So here the Gemara says, I'll tell you the drasha, because it says, sorry, so nafsho. This is the person that it says by the Parsha of the Nedarim, and it says that somebody who made a transgression, so he made an Isser on himself, made a never takes effect, he has to keep his guest. So it says al nafsho that he's making a constriction, a restriction upon himself. Upon himself means that he has jurisdiction over himself. That's only misha nafshe kanuyalo, only somebody who has jurisdiction over himself. Yotze evet shein nafshe kanuyalo, and evet doesn't have jurisdiction over himself. So therefore, the master is allowed to force him to transgress his naziros. If that's the drasha, so the Gemara just told us without telling us. The Gemara told us the source of our Mishnah that said that evet, the master, the Rav is forces his evet to transgress his naziros. The source of that halacha is in this pasuk nafsho. Only somebody that has jurisdiction over himself, but the evet doesn't, so the master can force him to transgress his naziros. This pasuk really says by nedarim, so it surely should apply to nedarim that the ned evet should not be able to make a ned that is on the cheshbon of the master. The master should be able to force him to transgress it. So suffer holding by a kasha. The Mishnah says, the Brisa says that he can't force his evet to transgress his neder. Kasha says, why not? He has jurisdiction over him. Rav Sheshes, so the Gemara is going to find an answer that really he does. Really, if it would affect the Rav, he would be able to force him. But the Gemara is going to say that it doesn't affect the Rav. Let's see. Rav Sheshes, if he had a cluster of grapes in front of him, and the neder means he yased himself on these grapes, and the Nazir means he yased himself on all grapes. Why neder that he just asserted himself on this cluster of grapes, but all the other clusters of grapes he's still allowed to eat. So therefore, he's not allowed to force him to transgress his neder because it doesn't affect the Rav. He can't eat this one, but eat another one. But by Nazir, if he says I'm also on these grapes, it means he became a Nazir. So then he's not allowed to eat any grapes. Then he's allowed to because it affects him. In the kids of the Gemara, in the short, the Gemara is saying that both of them is no real difference. It just happens to be a technical difference that by a neder it doesn't affect the Rav because not everything is asa, only something is asa. Everything else is mutter. So the Rav's not going to lose out. But by Nazirus that he's going to lose out. He's not going to drink any wine nor grapes. So the master's losing out. So then he can force him. But there's no real difference. It's only a technicality. But the Gemara doesn't even like that because sometimes there's no other pluses. These are only grapes here. And even in a case where only has one cluster of grapes, if it doesn't need it, he's not going to have any koach, and it does affect the Rav. So not a good teretz. So the Gemara tries again to find something which is not going to affect the Rav. Only the grape seeds. The grape seeds, no, it's not a difference. The Gemara thinks that the grape seeds don't give you so much koach. There's no big difference. So it doesn't affect him. But by the Nazir, when he says I'm not going to eat the grape seeds, it means everything. Grapes and yayin and everything's a Nazir, full-fledged Nazir. So it affects the master. He's allowed to force him to transgress. But the Gemara says it's not true. Sometimes the grape seeds can save somebody's life. Even by grape seeds also. If that's all he has left, it would help him very much to eat it. And now he's answering him, so the master is affected. So the Gemara has to find a difference between Nazirus and Neder. How come by Nazirus the master could force him to transgress his Nazirus because it's affecting him, and by Nedarim he can't? Nedarim also it affects him. My answer is a whole new pshat. We change the gears a little bit. Not when for what is the master allowed to force him? When does the master have to force him? The Nazirus it is chal, but he has the right to force him to transgress it because it's affecting him. But he doesn't even have to force him. Why is that? That the door on the contrary, the door is more easy to get out of. The Nazirus, if the Eved made himself a Nazir, he does become a Nazir. Thus the master could force him as long as it's relevant to me. We can't do your Nazirus because it's affecting me. But by Nedarim and Shvuas, it doesn't even take effect. It doesn't even take effect. Why is that? My time, that there's talking about a shvua, but applies to Nedarim also, that he makes a neder to do something bad or to do something good. Bad means something to afflict himself or something to benefit himself. That when somebody makes a neder or a shvua to do something good for himself, so he's authorized. No reason why he shouldn't be able to. So too, doing something bad to himself is only if he's authorized. But if it affects somebody else, he's not authorized, so it doesn't take effect at all. So if somebody made a nether which affects somebody else, it doesn't even take effect. Vashenkim and Nazirus doesn't have this drasha, so therefore it does take effect. It does, as long as he's under the jurisdiction of the master can force him to transgress his Nazirus. So the whole Gemara was talking about Nadorim. The Mishnah doesn't know about Nadorim or Shvuos. Just talks about Nazirus and so let's finish a couple of lines in the next Mishnah to the bottom of the page. Okay, Eved. Over we can negative part of it's really a continuation. It should have been in the same Mishnah. If he left, which the Mepharshim what the Gemara is going to say, that means he ran away. David ran away. Is he allowed to drink wine? He's not by the master. We said that as long as he's by the master, he has to drink because it affects the master. If he frees him, then he has to do the Nazirus. How about if he didn't free him, but he ran away? Machlokis. Rav Meir says he's not allowed to drink, like he's a Nazir. Avrohom says he may drink. Let me be the Shmuel Kamiflagi. First, the Gemara thinks that this machlokis is dependent on Shmuel's din. Shmuel says if somebody frees his slave monetarily, he gives away his mafkir him, so he goes free and doesn't even need a document of liberation or get shechur because once his money is free, so even the issue also goes off. So here we're talking about this Eved that he ran away. So he didn't get a good shechur, he didn't get any document.
He wasn't Meshachar.
He wasn't Meshachar, but he was Meshachar himself. It's like he stole himself. If he ran away, so he's like taking his money. He's like he has a bag of money. So he took himself. He's the bag of money. He's the value, and he ran away. So does he need to get shechur or not? Is he still obligated to the master? Rav Meir is like the Shmuel. Rav Meir seemingly holds like Shmuel that therefore he's out of the master completely. Once he stole his money, he stole his value. So ain't so get shechur. So therefore his Nazirus kicks in because. Wesley the Shmuel and Tzarech gets shechur. I'm getting mixed up. I need some help over here. I'm after Avdo and Tzarech gets shechur. So may Islay the Shmuel that ain't Tzarech gets shechur. So he's free. He's free legamri. If he's free legamri, then the Nazirus kicks in. But according to Yossi, less like the Shmuel. So he does need to get shechur. Since he needs to get shechur, he's still under the jurisdiction of the master. So he's not allowed to. He's not allowed to be a Nazir. The master's jurisdiction takes him out of the issur of drinking wine. That's what the Gemara thought, that Rabbi Yossi will argue on Shmuel. The Gemara says, no, not necessarily. The Kul Yam Islu the Shmuel, everybody could hold of Shmuel means the way we would have said Rav Meir. Islu the Shmuel means that Ein Tzarech gets shechur, so he's free. If he's free, so then the Nazirus should kick in and he shouldn't drink. Elaman da Amar Yishte Savar Sof Sof Mehad Hada Vasi Gabei Lishti Chamra Ki Yechid Lo Likchash. It sounds like the Gemara is saying that everybody holds that it's not the same as the Mafkir Avdo, because here the master didn't free him. He stole himself. He ran away. But the master still has the right. He still has the obligation to come back. Everybody's going to hold that has nothing to do with Shmuel's case. Shmuel's case was he was Mafkir him. If he's Mafkir him, he goes free monetarily. And the question is if he needs an official document to get out. But here that he stole himself. He doesn't want him back. He has no right to get him back anymore because he's mafkir him. Just he has to also be mafkir the issa, not only the hefker of the money. But here that he ran away, so the master has a right to take him back.
Because he never was mafkir.
He wasn't mafkir. He ran away, so like he stole himself. But if the master finds him, he's going to take him back. So everybody holds that really is obligated to the master. So as far as the jurisdiction, the master still has jurisdiction. Now the question is, should he drink wine or not? Usually when he's by him, the master wants him to drink wine that he should have koach and koach. Here, does the master want him to drink or not? That's the question. The question is what the master really wants. Usually when he's around, the master wants him to drink. He should have koach and be happy, do work for me. But here, the question is when he ran away, does the master want to drink wine or not? Rav Meir says that, who says what? Rav Meir says,
why would he want to drink wine?
Oh, he wants him to drink wine in order that he should be strong. He should be strong. He's going to come back. I'm going to get him back. Everyone's attending and get him back. He's going to get him back. So what does he want? My Eved now ran away. I'm going to get him back. Do I want him now to be healthy and take care of himself? So Rav Meir says, Rav Yossi says, drink in order that he should be strong. Since I'm going to get him back, I want him to be, same way when he said I want him to be strong. So he should be over there also, wherever he is, he should be healthy
So
and
it's not-
drink.
It's not like
But
cold
Rav
washing.
Meir holds lo yishteh, because on the contrary, I want him to be miserable. He's gonna, and he's gonna come back to me. He'll come back to me because he's gonna be miserable, because he doesn't have, he's not allowed to drink wine because he's a Nazir. So he'll come back to me in order to be able to drink wine, and then he's gonna work for me.
Yeah.
Yashikov.
That's
Thank you.
right, that's at the end of the page.
That's the end, yeah.
There's a whole page there, hold on.
It's not good that that's a chiddush already. It's a
mean,
chiddush that we do all
it's-
that.